And just to add to that segment, Johnny, I went the day you went to get that. I was in Palmdale as well, and I spoke to a young man. But let's just go back, because I want to tell you guys, Robert Fuller, his half brother, was also shot and killed by the LA County Sheriff's deputies, and protesters, of course, are calling for justice too. And this is even weirder, because that was Wednesday when you guys went, and that was when you guys went. That happened at 4 p.m. while you guys were still there.
That's right.
But it was 20 minutes away.
Yes.
About
in
where
Rosemont.
Rosemont, exactly.
Which was even more north. It was actually outside the jurisdiction of the LA Sheriff's County.
Exactly.
And they're the ones that did the killing.
And they're the ones that did the investigation too. So why were they investigating outside of their jurisdiction? We don't know. Exactly. Why were they investigating killing? So reportedly, another woman that was there was shot in the chest, and a child that was there witnessed the whole thing. So this is what happened. NBC Los Angeles had a quick report on it. Sources said several days ago, a woman called 911 and said she had been held against her will by Boone, Robert Fuller's half-brother, in an apartment where he allegedly demanded information about Fuller's death. The woman escaped and reported the incident to the sheriff's department, which resulted in criminal charges filed Tuesday. So we're looking at a woman accusing him of holding her hostage. By Tuesday, they had already filed charges against the guy. We're not even getting people fired in time after they murder people. But by Tuesday, they were able to file charges against this guy, right? Which to me is like a little. How do you file charges at someone without like arresting them? Like they had to have gotten a warrant. But that is very quick to me. It seems like it's very, very quick to me. And his name was Tehran Jamal Boone, and he has the same mother as Fuller. And they charged him with assault with a deadly weapon, false imprisonment, and domestic violence and criminal threats. This is according to the LA Superior Court records. And he was killed by the deputies during the shooting.
Yeah, and they shot a bunch of times. You want to hear that real quick, fam?
Yeah.
Gunfire and breaking news now at 11 o'clock. A deadly shootout with a kidnapping suspect, and that suspect is related to Robert Fuller. He's the man found hanging from a tree in Palmdale. Good evening. I'm Chuck Henry.
Yeah, so I just want to say now, because this turns into something else. This is where I'd really be like, where the hell is the FBI? Because now you have the half-brother of Robert Fuller also being shot by police. You have people blaming police for Robert Fuller's murder, saying that there's racist connections between the police and some white supremacist groups in the area. And you have this guy that seems to have been like completely persecuted and shot. And they followed him for a while and attempted to do a traffic stop on him, right? When he stopped his vehicle, he opened the door and reportedly he began shooting at the deputies, and a deputy involved shooting occurred. He was struck several times in his upper body and pronounced dead at the scene. And the woman in the SUV was also wounded, and there was a 7-year-old girl in the vehicle who was not injured. Okay. The driver is his sister and the girl is her daughter. So that was them. And this is insane that we are seeing the police investigate themselves. It just, at this point, I don't trust anything that's going to come from the LA Sheriff's Department, because they're obviously involved in some way. I mean, at the very least, they can't be investigating Robert Fuller if now there's a situation with his half brother. And what if he knew something? What if he knew something and then they shot him? I mean, he was trying to investigate the murder of his brother. So in trying to investigate that, because that report from that woman that was apparently allegedly held hostage is also weird. It's also weird. I mean, this is all Well, I don't know. What do you think, fam?
It is weird, fam, and I don't know. I've seen some footage that showed that shooting. It's kind of like, I don't know, they ambushed him and like.
Right.
I'm trying to find it right now.
So, yeah. So also, like, why is the LAPD or the LA Sheriff's Department doing anything? That's out of their jurisdiction, right? Like
that should have been, that should have been another county. That should have been another county, whatever county that is.
Yeah, I forget what county it is. It might be Riverside. Antelope members. So members of the Antelope Valley community, of course, then went the following day demanding greater accountability from the sheriff's department after 2 black men now were shot by deputies in the past week. One of them being the half brother of Robert Fuller, who was found hung in Palmdale, and they were investigating, of course, the brother, and the surveillance team was working to apprehend Boone when he was spotted in the passenger seat of a blue SUV. So, yeah, they pulled him over, and then how do you go from a pullover to a shootout? I don't know, but I spoke to a gentleman who was one of the people that was protesting, right? And they were right outside a group of black protesters and activists were there protesting because they feel like the media hasn't portrayed them favorably. They feel like they're not getting the attention they deserve because they're outside of the bigger part of LA. So like we said, Palmdale is like an hour away. And so they were saying that you're dealing with this systemic racism, and this is a really old problem. So I have a couple of clips from a video that's going to release by itself so you guys can watch it because it was a great interview. He talks a lot about what the problem is and how the media sees it. And at about 34 seconds, Johnny, he talks about, why they're there and how the media is portraying them.
All right, let's listen.
And how would you say the racial tensions are in Lancaster and Palmdale area?
I would say that it's very high right now. We're looking to make sure that our bigger cities can back and get behind us a lot more, because when we are sitting here in pockets of isolation, and we know that we have some of the highest rates of incarceration here, and we have some of the highest rates of police brutality and mistreatment documented of any other city in LA County, then we want to make sure that we're not being forgotten because we don't have the media sources hubs here, or we don't have, this is a military town, that type of crowd, the type of people that have the same coinciding belief systems that America was founded on, which was oppressive from its nature to black people, which is why we have such a high rate of this type of thing being produced. The media attention that we get a lot of times is manipulated in the wrong ways to be able to present a narrative that's great for the media because they need numbers and ratings. So what we need is the right media attention to promote the actual factual information of what's happening. When they push a certain specific narrative, it justifies the deaths of black people because they push a narrative that makes it look like we are the demons or that we are the monsters, so that when we are killed and when we are harmed, it's diluted and it almost makes it seem justifiable to the people that are onlooking but not experiencing it. So right now we need the correct type of media coverage. We need the type of media coverage that humanizes us and not dehumanizes us, so it does not give the room or the permission for our deaths to be acceptable.
Would you say that most of the protests have been peaceful? Because a lot of the mainstream media likes to say that there's violence, looting.
Yeah.
Would you say in your experience being on the ground that most of them are peaceful?
All of them have been peaceful. We haven't had any violent protests at all whatsoever so far. We don't move in foolishness. We're a very organized group here. And it's not to say that violence isn't necessary under certain circumstances. It's not to say that everything has its place. We live in a society that understands war as long as it's not within their own grounds. So we'll train and we'll organize things whenever we feel an attack upon our U.S. soil. We'll go out to war. They'll send our troops out. We'll rally them up. We'll say we're going to do what is necessary to prevent this from happening to us ever again, even if people have to die on the behalf of it. So we understand that. But for us, we get demonized when we say the exact same thing. Now that happens to not be our approach, but we're not downing anyone else who chooses that approach. It's just not the approach that we're taking.
Exactly. And I love the point he made about war, because we have zero problem going to war and being extremely violent. As long as it's not here, the moment people here start protesting or doing something, and he's saying, you know, I'm not going to tell people, because in protesting, sometimes there is a requirement of some sort of violence because sometimes you're not heard. But he's saying, you know, the majority of these people are not engaging in that way. And the media, of course, is taking this into their own spin because, like he said, they need ratings. And at about 3:39, he starts talking about Robert Fuller and what his half brother and what happened with that.
Your opinion of what happened last night? Robert Fuller's half brother was also shot in an altercation with police about 20 minutes from here.
Right.
What do you think about his interaction with police and how that affects your perspective on what happened with Robert Fuller himself?
So when someone is placed inside of a situation where you find your brother being hung and they cannot provide answers for you, but they rule it as a suicide and your family speaks against it, and there is rumors of clans rallying in the same city in which you are living in, and the remnants of that racism is directly affecting and impacting your family, and you are approached by officers in unmarked vehicles, so they're not clearly stating who they are, at which point I feel that is in itself an act of violence, being the state of the world that we can actually see and experience and feel day to day. So if you understand sociologically that the state of our people are in a state of being attacked, and specifically this family has now experienced the death in a very, very traumatic form, being reiterated over and over and over again and ringing and echoing throughout the entire nation. So they don't have that safety or security, especially not coming from law enforcement. So when you're coming up to somebody in unmarked vehicles, meaning that this isn't a clear indication of who you are, there is no reason for me to believe that he didn't feel threatened under those circumstances. There's no reason for me to believe that he should feel safe or should not be in a position to want to defend himself, knowing with all giving circumstances in that situation.
Exactly. That's what we kind of mentioned earlier. Like when police don't incite a safety, a mood of safety, a trust in us anymore, especially to somebody whose half brother they believe was murdered by somebody related to the police. So obviously he's not going to feel safe and he's going to get defensive. And also the fact that he mentioned too, that I didn't mention before, that the police were in an unmarked vehicle, which to me is like,
when they pulled up on Robert Fuller's half brother.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, and so to me, it's like, I've always been told as a woman, like, if you get stopped by an unmarked vehicle, make sure they show you who they are, because it's happened before that women have been stopped by an unmarked vehicle and it's not been a cop and they've been raped, or it has been a cop and they've still been raped. I mean, there are reports of women being raped by law enforcement all the time, by the way. And so for me, like, if I see an unmarked police car, I'm a little suspect, and that's me. That I'm not, I haven't gone through the same trauma that somebody like Boone, Robert Fuller's half brother, has, especially right after they killed, his brother, and all of this, especially the racial tensions. When I was in Palmdale, fam, I did feel like that racial divide when I was there. Like, it was definitely very clear to me. I have friends who have lived there for years who say that it is completely an area of a lot of racism and a lot of tension between the races and between specifically the police and the minority community. And so I wouldn't be comfortable myself, let alone if I were a black man. So, yeah.
So here's some footage that someone released when his half brother got killed.
Talking about performing medical assistance.
How the fuck sheriff still ain't fucking made it yet?
I have no idea.
That's ridiculous, dude. Been here.
They don't even know what fucking street they were on. They don't even know what the main street is. Fuck.
Oh, yeah, LA County
Now
sheriff.
they got LA County sheriffs here.
That's probably what.
my god.
Straight up with the
What
guns.
the fuck?
Oh shit. Dude better bring whoever it is to come out. Oh damn, somebody over there was shot.
Where is she at? Was it an adult or a child?
I don't know, man.
We'll find out in a second. What the fuck? What the fuck?
What is this person doing right here?
Being
They
a
really
fucking
tryna-
stupid idiot! Get back inside!
Hey bro, you should get back in the window, man.
Get back in the window!
They not playing.
Why are there so many cops?
Oh, dude not coming off the car. I think they're not coming off the car.
Wow.
It's fine, babe.
Why are there so many?
Oh, close the window. Close the window.
The camera's staying right here.
Dude, even the people filming it are freaking out. Like, that's not how you should feel in the presence of law enforcement. They're supposed to be the law and order, right, Trump? Like, they're supposed to be, like, there to protect and serve. That's not what they're doing. They're inciting fear in people. I mean, that woman was freaking out. I mean, seeing the cops, even when we were at that bridge by the 101 when that happened, seeing that is traumatizing, because you're like, wow, they don't care. They don't care about these people's lives. They are so blinded by this authority and power that they're not even thinking of what they're doing. They're just acting on it. They're obedient. That's it. There's no rationale for morality anymore. It just goes out the window.
They're acting like a gang, and particularly the sheriff's department, it looks like. It's interesting. And why the fuck were there that many cops there? That was really...
In LA, and the sheriff, that was the Los
really
Angeles Sheriff's
interesting.
Department. All of a sudden, like, that's what I mean. Like, this isn't just
I don't know, that's
isolated
weird.
events. This is like, I think there's definitely a connection between
It's almost like they wanted to be there.
Robert Fuller's murder, police, and his brother's murder. There's definitely a connection there. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and say that. I mean, obviously, I think there is some evidence to at least think that. But obviously it's hard to gather all the evidence when the police are pretty much making people feel like fearful. I don't know what they're doing. You know, they could be telling people, don't talk to anybody, don't talk to the press. They usually do that anyway. But this is one of the moments where people need to speak to the press. Like, especially independent media, because we're not going to twist it and we're not going to frame it in any way. We're going to explain what happened, and then I'm going to tell you what I think it is. But like, we're not going to, like, you know, this is, I mean, you guys saw Johnny's footage. You guys saw like what this gentleman from there said, that there are rumors about this alliance between these certain groups. And people there, countless friends of mine have also said the same thing.
Not to mention that Tina interviewed somebody there
Yep.
who said that he saw somebody with a cursive P looking from a distance at the protesters the Saturday we went.
Right.
Which was Peckerwoods.
Right.
So, I don't know. And then the group like chased them off or something. So, I don't know. There's a lot there. And I don't know. These are scary times, fam.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trusting at all of the police department right now. At all.
We need
answers.
real reform is basically it.
Well,
honestly.
we need answers to this, and we need to
answers
defund the
and-
police 100%. I mean, I don't think there's room for reform, fam, at this point. This is, if the foundation you have is not, you
Blow
know,
it up. Like,
he talks about that later in that interview, which I will release. You guys need to watch it. If you started with something that's systemic, you can't just reform the top part, because the underlying issues are still going to be there. Same thing, like, you can't just expect to remove Trump and have everything fixed, because the underlying problems that elected him are still going to be there. So that goes back to systemic issues that we need to go after. The police are an arm of the oligarchy. They have to completely change the way they're structured. Everything has to change. This is unacceptable, the way they've conducted this investigation or lack of investigation. And now we have another dead man, and then another dead man, and now another dead kid. We're calling him a kid.
all over the country.
I mean,
Being declared suicides. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.